Hello again, everyone. So, completing business messages. So, the learning outcome for this particular segment is revising a message, producing a message, proofreading a message, and distributing your message. So, we're going to be, as usual, I'm going to be talking or discussing each and every one of these. So, the first one, revising your message. So, what is the question that we need to ask? What is the purpose of us revising a message? What is the purpose? Does it really matter that we revise a message or the letter that we are about to send? Okay, now the first one in here, revising a message, evaluating the draft. Okay, revising your draft can mean the difference between a rambling, unfocused message and a lively, direct message that gets results. So, which is exactly the reason why, or the importance of revising our draft. You know, the first draft is just like scribbling. You know, we have also mentioned this in a previous discussion. Yeah, so it can be just rambling, you know, unfocused. So we do not want to send that kind of message to our customers, to our clients, or for our audience to see. So therefore, the necessity to revise drafts. So also is a strong signal, indication to your readers that you respect their time, care about their opinions. Remember, I think in the couple of slides away, I talked about respect, good etiquette, yeah, respect, diplomacy, and tactfulness. So if we revise our letters, meaning we respect, you know, basically it indicates that we respect their time. We want to be careful with words. We want to use euphemism. We want to replace that okay, this word is not so nice, so therefore I'm gonna replace it with something else that's more suitable. So this is a strong indication that we respect our readers' time and we care about their opinion. Now, the next one, revising, still under revising our message, evaluating draft. So we need to consider the following: content, organization, and tone. As for the content, asking the question, is the information that we have put together very clear, accurate, relevant, or complete? Okay, because again, we talked about audience time and respect. Okay, if you want to respect their time and respect their time, yeah, so we need to be clear, we need to be relevant. Otherwise, you know, audience would start thinking like, oh, this is just a waste of time. Organization, it has to be logical, it has to be an emphasis, yeah. And the grouping and repetition, you have to be very careful with this one. Sometimes you know, when you write letters draft after draft, there can be some repetition, so therefore the need to edit or to evaluate the draft, yeah. So logical order, again, in the previous slide I talked about transitions. Okay, the use of transition can be good in organizing a message. Okay, therefore, hence, meanwhile, this kind of transition. The last one here is tone. Achieve the right style and tone for your audience. Is it too formal? Is it too casual? So what kind of tone? So tone has to do with us being a knowing our audience profile. Okay, what are their expectations? What is their preference? Do I know something about my audience so that I can write a letter appropriately? I can use the right words, right effective words, correct words, yeah. So so we need to consider this when drafting or evaluating our draft: the content, the organization, and the tone of our letter. Now, revising to improve readability. So some techniques that you can use to improve the readability of your message. So these are some techniques in here. Varying sentence length. So this is recommended. Okay, short normally is up to 15 words. Medium is between 15 and 25. Long is over 25. So we may want to vary our length of the sentence. Yeah, carefully. We do not want to have a long sentence on and on. Yeah, so we can vary the sentence length in our letters. The second one is keeping paragraph short. Average is 100 for easy reading and more emphasis. Yeah, do not write letters on and on and on without a full stop. Okay, that can be very annoying. So, okay, maintaining flow, easier to connect ideas and work with transitions. So there has to be some consistency. There's a flow that can be seen in the letter. The third one is listing. The use of list of bullets. This is good. Yeah, it gets you focus. It gets our audience focused. Okay, the bullet here represents certain emphasis. Yeah, so lists and bullets is simplify complex points. It brings the audience to attention to one bullet point. Okay, this is an emphasis in this particular paragraph. It highlights main ideas. Yeah, it's skim and sequencing ideas as well. So okay, bullets and list, it works really good in a letter. Now the last one in here is headings and subheadings. So headings and subheadings, is rather similar to list and bullets. Yeah, the purpose. Now it reveals the content, the organization of the message. It draws attention to key points, the headings. Okay, what is the when you read letters, right? Read letters. What is the first thing that you look at? Is it the body? Is it the heading or the signature? Okay, like I shared early on that I would look for definitely the heading and not the content first. Maybe sometimes the signature, but most of the time it's the heading and the subheadings. Okay, if the heading is catchy, is interesting, then I would go on and read. Yeah, so headings and subheadings, it draws attention to key points. It shows connection. Okay, this heading is very interesting, therefore I want to read on. Yeah, so these are just some techniques in revising to improve readability. All right, so varying sentence length, keeping paragraph short, the use of lists and bullets, and the use of headings and subheadings. Now, the next one is editing for clarity and conciseness. Adding for clarity. Adding for clarity in here is we revise our draft so that the content of the message is very clear. So we do that by breaking up long sentences. You know, sometimes when we write letters, without knowing it, you know, our sentences are a bit too long. So we break that up into shorter sentences. Impose parallel structures, same grammatical structure. Okay, the use of past tense, then it's past tense. Yeah, if it's present tense and it's present tense, same grammatical structure. Reword long sentences. Yeah, reword long sentences. We can choose words. Okay, we can use the use of what is this? A synonym. Yeah, if it's a long word, then we can try to search for a suitable words to replace that. Clarify sentence structure. Avoid readers from having to read sentences twice to figure out who did what. So clarifying sentence structure is very important. Sometimes the structure of a sentence can be quite confusing, you know, and when it's confusing, we tend to read on, and we still don't get what the point is. So we try to avoid that. The next one in here is editing for consciousness. Delete unnecessary words and sentences. Yeah, if it's not necessary, we do away with it. Yeah, replace long words and phrases. Again, we can use thesaurus, synonym, or even very short phrases to replace a long one probably. Eliminate redundant word combination. Yeah, we tend to do this. So we read for redundancies as well. Okay, so this is editing for clarity and conciseness. So we're looking at editing for clarity and editing for conciseness. Okay, now the next one is producing your message. So in here we will be talking about two, elaborating on the principles of effective design and explaining the role of design elements in document readability. So there are two here, designing elements and other elements. So in designing the elements, we look at the consistency. Consistency can be seen through margin, type size. If it's not consistent, there's size that's big and small, a longer space in between. Okay, that's consistency. Detail, what appears where, etc. Okay, body first or heading first, so which one is it? Balance, the text, artwork, white space, more white space, and suddenly there is no white space, that's not balance. Restraint, simplicity and uncluttering, so it's easy to the eyes. Okay, simplicity. Other elements that we can take into account is justification, white space and margins. Yeah, so typeface, the font that we use, and the style is curvy, it's too flowery, things like that. So okay, so proofreading a message. In here we are talking about explaining the importance of proofreading and giving tips for successful proof. Moving on to the next slide, proofreading carefully. So there are 6 suggestions in here. The first one is making multiple passes. So what it means is the need for us to go over the drafts several times, not only once but several times. Now the next one is use perceptual tricks. Try reading backwards. Sometimes we see things differently if we start reading from the back towards the front. Okay, so this is just a suggestion. Perceptual tricks. Check high priority items. Description of names, titles and dates that are important. For example, title of somebody is significant, so we must make sure that the name is spelled correctly and the name is correct. Get some distance. So after proofreading once, twice or 3 times sometimes, it's advisable to take a break, because if we keep on continuing, we might not be able to see some error or mistakes in the letter. The next one is to stay focused and vigilant, avoid distractions, and the last one is not to rush proofreading. So we need to take time. So, you know, sometimes proofreading we need to read word for word, lines by lines, and pages by pages, so that way we can be effective and we don't miss any error. So this is about proofreading carefully. So again, there are 6 suggestions in here. Making multiple passes, using perceptual tricks, check for high priority items, getting some distance after getting too tired, staying focused and vigilant, and last one is do not rush proofreading. So finally we come to this the last focus on this chapter, which is distributing the message. We have our message ready and we are ready to send it out. So we'll talk about the important issues to consider when distributing your message. So there are 4 in here, 4 distribution factors. The first one is cost. Okay, we need to ask a question: do we need to print it out? If we do need to print it out, then what's the cost like? We need to bind it, deliver the reports. You're talking about reports that comes in a couple of pages probably. So okay, so the next one is convenience. A lot of organizations these days, they use cloud. They do not have to print it, they don't have to bind or even go to the post office and deliver, but they share online. So this is the requirement to have large files, storage online for a large file, wireless network or mobile devices. The third one is security or privacy constraint, email and other technologies. So the question is, if I were to send this important document via email, is it safe? If I were to store this in cloud, is it safe? Yeah. So security, privacy constraint, time constraint, overnight delivery. Okay, what's the urgency? Is the report needed by next day? If yes, then can it be delivered the next day? If not, then what are the alternatives? Can I send it by email and things like that? So these are the distributing messages and factors that we need to look into when we deliver our message to our audience. Okay, the last one, which is the addition discussion on this topic, is on designing for mobile devices. So designing mobile device, how do we do this? Like we mentioned, we agree that okay, we receive message via our email, our mobile device. We receive message and we also send message via mobile device. So how do you do this? So it says in here, think in small chunks. The need for us to think in small chunks, because now we are using a smartphone, right? Or small mobile device, even like a laptop can be smaller than a desktop. So the more convenient it is, the more we have to think of ways to get our message read by our audience. So like for example, handphone or a cell phone, we need to look at having to think in small chunks now, experimenting the layout. Okay, bigger font, small font, attractive, less attractive, the colors and whatnot. Use plenty of space, keep the format simple. So space is it has to do with having to avoid clutter. Yeah, so if it's too much, there's no space in between sentences and it's run on and on, it can be very confusing and not very encouraging. So we need to keep the format very simple. So this concludes our discussion of topic 5, completing business messages. So just to recap, we have discussed revising a message, producing a message, proofreading a message, and distributing your message.